Okay, so this is going to be how to use the zeezoo function in ZBrush. So the first thing you're going to do is obviously you'll have your polysphere loaded in here, but what you can do is you can just go to Lightbox, and you'll see zeezoo will be one of the options here. So you just double click that folder, and it'll bring up all sorts of interesting creatures for you to work from. For the purposes of this little demonstration, we're going to go with a platypus because they're hilarious. So now you can see we've basically got a polyline or a poly tool platypus loaded in here now. The way this works is when you click on something, it generates like a little like faux bone here, and depending on what widget you have selected depends on what the part of the model is going to do. So let's say I wanted to move the tail up. I would select on the tail, grab the bone, and well, looks like and now I could move it up and down, or if I were going from the top, I could move it, side to side, up and down, that sort of thing. If I wanted to, say, scale the tail, same process, just grab this little bone, you see it turns green, and then I can scale it up or I can scale it down depending. If I just click on a different part of the model, you'll be able to see what the thing looks like. Same thing for the head. If I wanted to kind of grab this head and move it, swap to the move here. I could move this part of the head around. You have to kind of experiment around with different parts of what parts of the model will move different things. Extremities are much easier. They're going to feel much more natural. It'll also be moving in symmetry. So if you wanted to just move one of the feet, you could, turn symmetry off and you could move it. So once we have, our model positioned where we want it, what we're going to do is we are going to generate a skin over the model that's basically going to turn into a new subtool. So we would go down here to adaptive skin, and we would tell it to, Dynamesh resolution 256 is pretty good for now, because you can always remesh it later if you want to. So you just come down here and you hit adaptive skin, and then up here you guys will see some options. There'll be the tool, which is your original poly thing, and then there's skin platypus, which I know sounds really creepy, so we're going to go ahead and click on that. And so now it's generated a poly mesh over top of the model that can then be sculpted on top of how subtools added to. As you can see, it's its own little subtool. So I could come in here and insert spheres and different things if I wanted to bulk it up or do various things like that. The other cool thing is if you click on the subtool itself, the skin subtool, you can actually sculpt directly on the surface. So this is good for making like minor textural effects and things like that. So if I were to come in here and hold down shift, I could smooth this out to start doing things like adding in textures and things and eyes and whatnot. I could smooth out ahead of time, and if I wanted to, I could then come in and use different there's chisels that'll make fur, various things like that. So I'll just kind of put some little fur in there just to kind of show you what that looks like. And this is just in this menu here in the top left. Come on. These are teeth. Here's some fur. So here's some small fur. Here's some larger fur. So I'm just going to click on this and see what happens here. All right. So yeah, we're cooking with gas. So you can then come in and add like a nice fur texture. Now I would recommend working back into this most assuredly. Like you're not going to want to just leave this kind of as a symmetrical kind of mess. But it's a nice way to build up a lot of texture pretty quickly. So that's one thing you can definitely do. So once again, in order to get the tool or the polygon platypus to look to be a mesh, you just come down here, go into adaptive skin, and hit make adaptive skin, and that will turn it into a skin subtool that you can then sculpt on top of.